What's up, y'all? You know what time it is? It's about to be that time.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Pizza time.
Savage.
And we're back. One Piece 1109 is out. And we thought it was going to be Void Century True History time, and instead, it's pizza time. Yeah. Our boy turned a Gorosei member and an admiral into 2 slices of pizza, while also essentially utilizing Diamante's awakening in some way, right? I mean, he kind of turned them into flags at one point. I can't remember a time where Luffy actually saw Diamante utilizing his power, so I don't think it's something that was inspired by that, but man, does it look like it. But this is also a several layered entendre on top of it as well, because since his name is Monkey D. Luffy, right? And he's making a symbol thing. Have you ever seen those toys where it's the monkey and it's just like moving with the symbol and all of that? Yeah, I think Oda's making a reference to that. He's also taking Saturn, who is a spider that has been calling everybody insects, swatting him like a bug. He is also saying Don, which is like a big hard drum, and he is drumming them together. And when he turned him into a pizza and spun him around, you had Saturn revolving around the sun god.
Can't believe it. Can't believe it. I'm in disbelief.
Needless to say, this chapter was a lot of fun and came with a lot of surprises that if you told me you predicted, especially what happened at the end of this chapter, I would probably look at you like you're crazy. But anyway, we had really special things happen. We had the return of Shaka, we had the return of Vivi, we had the return of Kiros, we had the return of one of my goats, Iceberg. He's waking up in his Gucci PJs. I gotta shout out the boy. He grew up on the back streets. Now he's in those satin sheets. He is making me look bad. I put this suit on because I thought I was getting Void Century history, and instead, I got a countdown for the history. But hey, still in the presence of a lot of royalty and in a lot of my goats. So I'm okay. I don't feel overdressed. Not yet. Not yet.
Man's got sauce. We don't force the sauce. Sauce is something you either have it or you don't.
I'm sure there are some of you out there, speaking of the timer, that may be disappointed in this development.
Oh my god, can we talk about the political and economic state of the world right now?
This is one of those rare instances where dragging something out actually benefits the story. If there is any moment in the series to actually drag out, it's this. This is what a quarter century of media has been building up to. The true history. Ever since Alabasta, when we found out that there was a void history to begin with, we've been wondering what it is. So what Oda is doing is he is elevating the stakes to an unfathomable level. I mean, all of the Gorosei are about to magically summon here. The stakes can't get higher. Literally cannot get any higher because they are the highest authority in the world. I actually wanted things dragged out a little bit back in Wano when Luffy was to have died, right? And I said, we just need a chapter or two of everybody sitting in this and kind of deal with that Snake Way isms. Now everybody's trying to fight Kaido on their own until Luffy can get back up. And I feel like Oda, kind of sped through that. Killed Luffy, and then in the next chapter brought him back, pretty much. And here, this is, hey, I'm going to tell you the true history. Hold on, wait, I'm going to give everybody 10 minutes to set this up. This, while it is literally a setup chapter, there has never been a more literal definition of a setup chapter. Everybody's got to go and set up their snails now. But by doing this, by doing the decks of the world, by going all around the world and showing these people, it is emphasizing exactly how important this information is. So the scene that Oda is setting here is incredible. And we're going to get into a bunch of possibilities that may develop from this, because this is one of the single biggest twists, wild, out there things that Oda has probably ever done. So here we go. Like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Whatever this message is, it's going to be a call to action. Whatever Vegapunk is able to actually like get out before transmission is intercepted, because I can't imagine that it won't be, but whatever he is able to get out will be something that rocks the world against the world government, even if he doesn't get the full true history out. Something that I've been talking about in a couple of different videos, especially recently, and building off of a comment from Lone Lupin and also Brandon in the streams, is this idea that Luffy, he's powered by belief. I brought this up when I was making a bunch of Peter Pan comparisons in the story recently, as you know, a few chapters back. If, and this was brought up by Lone Lupin, if the message doesn't really have anything to do with the true history, or more so that the true history is so ingrained and tied to Sun God Nika, then this is telling the world about Nika, which I like, because if there are elements that can be saved for Robin, I want that, because I don't want Robin's role in the story to be neutered. I feel like, especially the name of the Ancient Kingdom, like I would love it if the transmission gets shut off, but then it switches to a live stream, and then the world is seeing the Gorosei, they're seeing Luffy fight the Gorosei, all of this stuff, after they've learned what Sun God Nika is. And then Robin picks up the mic or something and says the name of the Ancient Kingdom was blah, blah, blah. Now that I'm thinking about it, is the name of the kingdom Nika? But anyway.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
The main thing here is, like, Luffy is fighting Saturn, and he's like, why aren't my punches hurting you? You know, I mean, he's not saying it with the same, like, inflection that I just said it, because he's in Gear 5, so he's like, why aren't my punches hurting you? But anyway, the idea here is that he may not be at full power because people don't know he exists. People don't believe in him. I talked about this when I mentioned that Luffy was resurrected because his crew believed in him. Like, I truly believe that that's what brought him back, because it wasn't until Nami started yelling at Kaido and saying Luffy's not dead that Luffy's heart really started, like, beating again. And this is so much more obvious in the anime than the manga, but the idea of everyone learning about Sun God Nika and then suddenly believing into it, and then, you know, this is getting really Dragon Ball Z, because we already, you know, it's like, are we going to be doing this whole Namek thing where, you know, the 10 minutes is like 50 chapters and a million episodes? I really hope not. I still think that we should be leaving this island in the next 5 or 6 chapters, which seems crazy, especially with all the new developments. But, you know, maybe this pushes us to 10 chapters or so now. But what this is really giving us from Dragon Ball Z is like a spirit ball effect, where everybody that Luffy has ever known or has ever cared about Luffy, that Luffy has ever saved, is going to start like putting their belief into the sky, which is going to somehow embolden his power and give him this sort of magical property that may be able to stop these magical beings. Because I feel like what we're getting into is something that is different from hockey, or maybe it is based in hockey, but it's like it's what the real hockey is, what the hockey behind the hockey is. Hockey is just another magic, right? Devil fruits are magic. What if the whole thing is just magic? We're just dealing with different forms of magic, and you know what the Gorosei has is very evil and ritualistic and all that kind of heebie-jeebie stuff. But what Luffy could be dealing with here is just simple belief, and the more people that believe in him, as corny as it may sound, that could be what we're going to end up getting in One Piece. Everybody believes, not that they have to put their hands in the sky and send their literal energy, but if they believe that this god exists, it will give Luffy the power to kind of break through whatever barrier the Gorosei have that is blocking Luffy from really hurting them. And then the more people that believe, he keeps punching, he's getting stronger because people believe in him, and boom, feels like an anime, doesn't it? This is further emphasized when you take into consideration that multiple people have been targeted or murdered for just uttering or knowing the name Nika. So there must be power in that name on its own. Now, are there other people in this world that have a similar power to Saturn and the rest of the Gorosei, right? This more like ritualistic hockey or something like that. The Gorosei are not the first people to use summoning circles in the story. When Kuma sent Brook during 3D2Y, Brook landed in the middle of a summoning circle. Now, this was played as a gag, but was it supposed to mean more? I feel like it has to, especially when you consider now, if you look back at the Gorosei's office at Pangaea Castle, you can see these circles on the wall, and all of these individuals are wearing these black cloaks. And what was Shanks wearing when he met and said that he wanted to talk about a certain pirate? A very similar black cloak. Is there some sort of correlation between these black cloaks, the summoning circles, the cults, and the Gorosei? Is Shanks a part of all of this, or is the only way that he could have a meeting with them by basically placating himself in front of them and wearing the cloak? How much does he know, and what can Shanks do? People have been wondering for a long time how Shanks has been able to move around the world. I don't know if Luffy can get out of this by himself. Who is going to fight the Gorosei? How many of the Straw Hats are going to get involved? Are we going to start seeing Jinbei, Zoro, Sanji, get involved in this? Who's going to be the other player? Is Luffy going to 2-on-1? Is Luffy going to 5-on-1? Are the other Straw Hats going to get involved? Are they going to leave and just head to Elbaf? What is actually going to be the dynamic here? I think for a while it may actually be Luffy versus all 5, because that's what happened with Sabo, earlier last year. And echoing that with the other brother here being Luffy will be fun, but I don't think he's going to be able to handle all of this. And maybe this goes back to my old theory that at some point in the story, Luffy actually does get captured and he becomes the Asen version of the post-time skip era. And it's not necessarily this whole spirit bomb thing, but that everybody that he's ever saved and loved comes to rescue him. And this is, that moment where all of the extended Whitebeard fleet members and everybody that's ever cared for Whitebeard, is just coming to help save Ace. That's a possibility. We're at Marineford, and maybe there's a ship in icebergs pulling up, and Dalton and Kureha and the Grand Fleet and all of this. There may be room for that here. Or we're fighting, and then out of nowhere another circle appears and Shanks comes out of it, right? And the red-haired pirates. And then now, instead of Luffy fighting against Shanks, he's meeting Shanks and fighting alongside him against the Gorosei. That would elevate things to an even crazier level that no one really would have ever expected or thought to think of, especially when this arc had started, or even, at any point other than right now. Because we're seeing this teleportation aspect in effect. And I don't know if they're the only people that should be able to have this ability. There should be other people that can tap into this, but this has to be some sort of ancient thing. But before we get all of that, I am expecting more decks of the world. And how many other people could we see? Because like I said, these are the people that are going to play a role in any sort of situation that happens. These are the people that we're going to see pick up pitchforks, pick up this, pick up whatever weapon they have, and go up against the world government in this final war scenario, at least in my head. So we've already seen Vivi, which stocks are up. She's literally asking, does it say where Luffy and his crew are going? So she is implying, more than she has recently, that she's trying to meet up with them. So Vivi and Elbaf, for sure. Iceberg and all of Water 7, they're getting ready there. Is the man going to stay in those in the Gucci pajamas, or is he going to put a suit on? Stay tuned to find out. On the other side of the world, we see Kyros and Rebecca and Leo, and the Tontadas, as usual, are feeding into the propaganda of the world. We see Wapol, who's looking like he aged 20 years. We see Morgans, who is really flexing his intelligence. I love that character, and every time we go to that World Economic News blimp, I'm ready. For more reasons than one. I mean, all of those characters in there are just really great. We saw a bunch of random islands, very Marineford, and everything was happening there. We were going to islands that we'll never actually see, but it's just opening the scope of the world. But there are still people that Luffy had helped that haven't been shown yet. People like Drum Kingdom. Will we see Dalton and Kureha reacting to this? Do they have visual transponders now? We did see Whoop Slap as well, right? Fuchsia Village, they're too poor, they couldn't afford it. Whoop Slap as mayor doesn't want to have to feed the thing. It's another mouth to feed, right? So this is also kind of doubling down on why we need to hear this message in the first place to kind of fix this classism problem that's in One Piece to begin with. Back to other people that we could possibly see. Zeph, could we see Genzo and Nojiko at Kokoyashi? Could we see the Grand Fleet, Bellamy, Barto, Cavendish? What are their reactions to all of this? Will we get to see, as we start looking at other people, are we going to be able to put together where they are in the world, if they're on their way to us? That's kind of the fun thing. Like, are we going to see Blackbeard? Is he going to react to this? What are the Marines going to think of this? When we actually start getting into the messaging, is it going to cause some people to defect? We've been waiting for Smoker, in particular, to defect. Is this the moment that will do it? I wanted it to be something that was active within an arc that he was playing a role in, but I'll take it either way. Fujitora is also, in the same boat here. So if we see Smoker and Fujitora reacting to this, that could muddy and change the way they look at things. Kobe, are we going to see Kobe's reaction to this? Katakuri, will we get an update on him? Will it show that he's actually like on the Big Mama Chanter or something, like out looking for pudding and listening to the message? The Cross Guild, we know that they were fighting a bunch of Seraphim like a day ago. What happened to them? Where are they? Are they on the Big Top Blaster, which, the name of the ship was just revealed in the recent SBS? I want to see everybody. Let's go to Skypiea. Like, in the last 2 years, maybe they, started trading with the Blue Seas, and now they have a visual transponder snail as well that they bought with all the gold that they have. There's a lot of really fun ways to kind of get into all of this, and for me personally, that is like some of my favorite stuff in the entire series, is when we get to see everybody else. That's something that's really fun for me, and that's something that was really missing during Wano. We were so isolated there. It was an isolated country. That was part of the point. But it's like, imagine we were getting Gear 5 and Gear 5 was being broadcast across the world, right? And as it was happening, we're seeing everybody look at Luffy and be like, why does he look so weird? But that might be something that comes from this as well, when it stops being a pre-recorded message and actually becomes a live stream. So those are my predictions for the next chapter. More decks of the world, Gorosei actually show up, and we'll probably see their forms. Someone in the stream asked if I think we'll get their devil fruits. I don't know if they have devil fruits. I think this is them. I think this is their actual form. We're getting into more mystical elements of all of this. And that's kind of a weird but also exciting prospect to kind of understand that this layer has been hidden here this whole time. Kind of like hockey, but I'm hopefully it'll be something that'll be easier to retcon in a way. That's not really the word, but it's like when I think back to Marineford, I was like, man, I wish I could actually see the hockey. But if it is something that has been here, or it is like the basis of hockey in the first place, is all built into this magic that's in the world, we need these 10 minutes to go by. But we need to also enjoy the time in between those 10 minutes. And I think that the next couple of chapters are going to be really fun. Still waiting for chapter 1111 to be something Zoro related. Will he clash with Ethan, Baron, Venus, Juro, Samurai Gandhi? If he does, I want him to lose. Even though he said, I will never lose again. Let's get some drama. Let's build up some tension for a future fight. I do not believe that we are beating the Gorosei here, nor should we. If we do, we might as well just put the crown on our head and say we're the Pirate King. It's over. This is the archipelago. This is going to end badly for everybody. This is something that we need to turn tail, collect information, maybe sit with Shanks somewhere where he can kind of lay this stuff down to us, maybe, because I feel like he's the person that could do it. If Rayleigh shows up, all right, I guess it's time for me to tell you these things. And there's a lot that needs to get explained, and if we kind of use Elbaf as like a little bit of a mini training arc in a way, that could be fun too. Teach everybody hockey. How do we use this? Maybe people can start utilizing this new power. If Shanks knows how to do this stuff, can he teach them how to do these, like alchemy circles and stuff like that? But is there like a good way to do it? Like if theirs is all dark and evil, like could there be a colorful version of this that is, benevolent, that is really more based in Nika and not as pentagrammy? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just looking at what's being presented and I'm like, where is this even going? Because a lot of this is new. So, but it's going to be fun to see. We're on break this week. So what we're dealing with at the beginning of this chapter is a call to action. This is a pre-recorded message, and we're seeing all of the flubs and floundering that Vegapunk is doing after he hits the record button. That's, part of the humor of it. But this is also kind of a trope, too. I'm sure you've seen this probably in like a network TV show as well, where a character has died, and then someone finds a VHS tape or, a DVD or something on their phone, right? Depending on how modern this thing is, this example that I'm making up, and they're watching a video of their loved one addressing them. Sometimes they're just watching an old family video, but it's a way for readers and watchers to say goodbye to certain characters. Now the problem is that some of these characters we really didn't have an attachment to. Stella, I'd say yeah. Shaka, just because he's a drip god. Pythagoras, like kind of popping in. He's just like, hey, I exist also. I don't really care. But anyway, that's, I think, what Oda's trying to do here. And like I mentioned earlier, this is all about just kind of laying the groundwork, laying the tension, setting everything up. It gives Oda an opportunity to remind us all of the players that could potentially play a role as we go forward into the final saga and whatever a final war could be. I think that's going to wrap things up, guys. We should have a Theory for Theory next Sunday where we'll go through a lot of these topics in even more detail. So stay tuned for that. Drop who you'd like to see as a guest in the comments below. And in general, just like, comment, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Thanks for all the support, everybody, all of our members. It's so appreciated. Take care.
I've been swimming deep, savage.